The TrekWorks YouTube channel is sponsored by HDA ModelWorks, suppliers of scale lighting products, detail accessory parts, and complete model kits. Visit HDAModelWorks.com today. Hello there again, everybody. Boyd here with you, and welcome back. Well, today we've got a little update for you guys on our 1/200 scale Titanic project. This is the parts upgrade set from Trumpeter Models that's available for the model kit. Just got this in yesterday. This is a really nice little set. I haven't actually opened the box. There's already been a couple of reviews of this out there on YouTube, so we thought we'd do one here for you. This is a really nice kit. It ran me about $180 US. I think it's worth every penny. Pricing out some of the stuff that you get individually in this kit, I've built some other ships where I, for example, used some of the Pontos wood decking, which I think was around close to $100 just for the set of decking, and then a whole bunch of brass upgrade parts and everything. So for $180, I think this is totally worth it. And for me, you know, the 1/200 scale Titanic kit is something that I've wanted for a long time. Always wanted to do a kind of a museum quality model of the Titanic, so this is going to allow you to get really close to achieving that. The stuff that they give you with this kit is really, really nice, and literally they've thought of just about everything. So without further ado, let's go ahead and pop this open. You guys are going to see this for the first time. I haven't actually opened the box, but let's go ahead and check this out. What I'll do is I'll just kind of give you a look at these parts, and then at the end I'm going to take some still pictures and have them so you can see them a little bit clearer of the photo-etched sheets and everything that we get in this. So right off the top we have, looks like the instruction brochure here, which is really good quality, just like we see in the model kit itself. Nice full color pictures. Looks like on the cover here we've got a list of all the parts. You can see we've got the some talk right here about the propellers. Now, as I mentioned with the model kit, they've included this optional 3-bladed center screw here. There's still kind of some controversy or whether or not that's was actually there on the Titanic, or whether it had a 4-bladed center screw. But that's your option. The thing that they do is to give you both types, so you're able to make up your own mind on that. Going down here, we have kind of list of these little diagrams here of parts. We have the masts down below, which is a really nice thing. This will be the first time that I'm going to be building a ship with brass masts. Some of the ships I've built in the past, I tried to get them and they were just really hard to get. They make a big difference when you go to do your rigging and everything, so they don't droop or sag when you put pressure on them. But we'll just flip through the brochure here really quick. Looks like you got a diagram here of all the wood decking that you're going to get. Now, it looks like Pontos is the one that made these decks. I've used their stuff before. It works really, really good. Here we can see we immediately get into all the detail of assembly. You've got the crow's nest here going onto the main mast. All the little details that go with that. I won't go into all the, the maritime words that you call all this stuff, because I have no idea. I'm pretty knowledgeable about the Titanic, but a lot of this stuff, a lot of this lingo isn't even used anymore regularly. It's just kind of faded away over time. But just beautiful detail here. Just looking at it, it looks fantastic. Again, really nice full color pictures here. Now we're getting into the area with the decking. Typically what you'll see is they'll have areas darkened out or shaded a certain color that you might have to remove some plastic on the model in order to get the deck to set down on there properly and flush. And so it looks like they give indication of that here in various spots going around. And then some more assembly of brass detail parts going down. You get everything from highly detailed steam winches and bollards and tie downs and railings and all kinds of stuff. Here we actually see we're detailing the it looks like the forward auxiliary anchor, which is a really beautiful piece. And then we've got some catwalking around the anchor well area up there at the forepeak. So that's really nice. That detail wasn't there on the kit that I noticed on, you know, the basic kit itself. So again, another reason to spring for this if you're really interested in doing a really accurate Titanic build. Here we can see a whole bunch of detail work going around the anchor chain guides. You know, just don't want to get too specific on all this. The forward on the water break on the forward area, on the forepeak area here, or the storm shelter, whatever you want to call that. You know, just all kinds of little detail parts there. Here you can see you've got these incredible looking steam winches. When you're finished detailing all those out, they're going to look fantastic. Here we have the forward anchor crane detail, which looks like it's completely done in brass. Here we have some ventilator cover details, some more details at the forepeak. Some interior, inside, you know, well deck detailing here on the inner wall, the well deck up forward. Just kind of going through this. Here we're back at the poop deck. We've got all kinds of detail going on here. Bollards, tie downs, winches, things like that. The docking, the aft docking bridge here. A lot of detail going on to that. Some more detail for the auxiliary stern anchor, which I don't even think they gave you a stern anchor with the kit. I'm not sure, I didn't see it in there. But this is an upgrade. You basically build the entire anchor out of brass. And I'm sure we're going to see all the, yeah, you've got here all the window frames for all the upper areas of the officers' quarters, first class cabins up forward. Some detail here at the bridge, really nice. Okay, and then we get into the decking again here. I think they're just giving you indications of areas where this goes down, you know, all this stuff. Here we see that the entire compass platform is detailed in brass, which is just awesome. That's going to look really fantastic. And some more shapes and things that you have to bend. I'm going to spend a long time putting all this stuff together. That's going to really, but it's going to be totally worth it. Here we have deck chairs and deck benches going together completely out of brass. Detailing of the engine room ventilator covers. Some of the air intake ventilator detail here. A bunch of steps and stairwells going on around different decks. Now, I saw an earlier review on this and I thought this was interesting. We have an entire brass wrap that wraps around each funnel. That's going to be interesting to work with. I've never seen that one done before. But you've got all the rivet detail and everything on there. The funnels themselves aren't too bad out of the kit. A lot of people would say they'll probably pass, but this will be really fantastic to add this on here. It'll just be interesting to see how well they, you know, lay down and shape and conform and everything. I'm sure you'll want to anneal these parts. With brass, you anneal them. Basically, take a what I like to use is I like to use a piece of ceramic tile, and I use this little Bunsen burner thing here, and just basically heat it up. You don't have to heat it until it's practically melting. You just want to kind of, you know, give it a good, I've noticed doing it when you go over the stuff, you'll see it slightly change color, and then you'll kind of know that it's ready to go. And it basically what it does in a nutshell is it takes the springiness out of the brass, so it's more pliable and it'll retain its shape when you bend it. That'll probably be what we have to do here for sure. But that'll be beautiful if we get that on there. Here we see all the guy wire detail on the funnels. At the upper part there, you've even got the little eyelets where all the brass, I don't know if they give you the guy wires included in this or not, but we'll have to figure that out. I've got some easy line that I bought in a little bit bigger scale for all the rigging that I intend to do on this. Now, a lot of people are talking about the lack of directions for the rigging. Well, there are plenty of websites you can go to about the Titanic where you can see drawn diagrams of all of the rigging that's supposed to be on the ship, so you can pretty well figure that out yourself. And it looks like they've got the guy wires and some other basics on here. So once you get that figured out, you can kind of go from there about all the riggings that go on the masts and, you know, the forward mast, the aft mast, and all the other superstructure. So here we have some detail for the lifeboats. Now I'm really glad that they included this because I was kind of disappointed with the lifeboats that came with the kit. They were just basically, you know, open shells, didn't have a lot of detail. And of course, we know the Titanic boats when they were in stored position, they had canvas covers on all of them. I think all of them except the collapsibles, which were turned upside down and didn't need a cover on them. They were stored up near the officers' quarters up forwards just after the bridge. But here we get the covers, we get all kinds of interior detail, we get oars, we get all kinds of cool stuff. More detail for the davits, railing for the, it's kind of funny if you think of the Titanic, in the movie you see everybody kind of standing right near the edge of the ship. Well, they actually had railings all the way around this stuff, and it was taken down when they were, when they're going into the lifeboat drill mode, so people didn't fall over the sides, under normal operations, but otherwise it seemed kind of strange that you'd be, 90 feet above the water with no railing to keep you from falling over the side. But they took all that down when they were getting ready to launch the lifeboats. Here we have some detail up forward by the bridge. It looks like the interior detail, all the binnacles and instruments there inside, the steering helm and all that. More lifeboat davit detail up forward. And here we have a bunch of jib cranes, cargo crane. This is just going to be beautiful. I mean, I can't believe the detail going on here. This is just awesome. They look. I've been following Titanic Honor and Glory with all their development of the game and the work that they did on the research they put into what these cranes actually look like, even the inner mechanism on how they worked and everything. It looks like they've replicated a lot of that here. It's just fantastic. Brass is not one of my favorite things to work with, so I'll just be taking it real slow. I just don't. I've gotten older as a modeler, and I struggle a little bit now with like really super tiny stuff. But this being at 200 scale shouldn't be too bad. It's it's going to be a lot. I remember doing the Bismarck and working with a lot of the tiny photo-etched stuff in 1/350 scale, and some of it was kind of frustrating. But so we've got. I just want to get you close to this picture here, guys. This is just beautiful. Look at that picture with the detail on there. This is towards the stern with all the detail going into those cranes. I mean, you can just imagine. Then once you get this all put together, you got the challenge of painting it all too, so that's going to be a lot of fun. But there's a brief overview. Here's some more, color pictures on the back here of the brass overlays on the stacks and everything, the mast. I think the most impressive thing I'm really glad to have is the masts here. This is just going to be really nice for once I get to use brass masts on one of my model builds for a ship. So there's a brief overview of the instructions. We'll pull out some parts. First of all, I see it's really nicely packed in this high density foam. I'll definitely hang on to this stuff too. It's always useful for something later on. But we'll pull this little pack out here first, which is, I'm not going to obviously open these, but here we have masts. I'll try to get you a little closer if I can get the glare off of that. These are just beautiful. I mean, they're machined, absolutely fantastic. All kinds of little bollards and, solid brass detail parts. This bag's actually pretty heavy. So that's a lot of stuff that's going to go on the decking and everything. Let's take a look at these propellers now. I will pull one of these out of the bag just to give you a look at this. Hopefully it cooperates with me here. Okay, so this is one of the main propellers. Get this in my hand here and get this a little closer for you. Get as close as I can. There are the nice bolt head details on the, on the blades. Now, one thing that's interesting about the Olympic class ships, the blades were actually bolted on to the main hub, which was kind of a neat idea because if you damage a blade, you could replace that blade and not have to replace the whole thing. Where if you look at a lot of the large ships from the time, and I think even to this day, of course, a lot of them don't use propellers anymore. They're using, thrusters. But they were cast in a solid piece. So like if you damaged one of the blades or whatever, you were replacing the entire propeller. Where this had a, kind of a neat design where they could remove the blades. And I suppose, I know that they were experimenting with different pitches on the blades, to get maximum efficiency and all that. So they may have had that in mind too if they're going to be changing out blades. But that detail is here. The pitch and the shape of the blades looks to be pretty close to what I can remember looking at. I've looked at lots of photos of Titanic. I have a large collection of photos. They look to be pretty good. Now, there's a little bit of casting edging around these. These aren't the best propellers that I've ever seen, but they're not the worst. And a little bit of work can be done with these, you know, clean them up a little bit. I think going over them with some steel wool to kind of scuff them down to get rid of that kind of, you know, almost too pristine and you know, glossy look that they have on there. I think that those will clean up really nice. So, but you do get the extra propeller, like I mentioned there, for the center, whether you want to have the optional 3 or 4 blades. So those are really nice. We'll go and look now at the next level, and we see that we have Photo-etched coming in here. Now we have several sheets of Photo-etched. I'm going to slide them out of this plastic sleeve here, and we'll start taking a look. Again, I'm not going to take these out of the bags. I'm going to take some up-close pictures here and show you at the end. But here we have some detail around the cabin houses below, you know, the funnel housings, I guess if you want to call that, the main funnel housings on the roof of those areas. There were some detail, kind of these plates that were laid down underneath of the funnels. We see a bunch of little foldable details here, and hopefully the plastic's not glaring too much for you here. A lot of this stuff I'm not going to have any idea what it is, guys. We just have to figure that out by the instructions. Just some long, these are just long constant pieces of, I don't know what they are. These are plates for the bollards. Basically they'll lay down and then the bollards go on over top. Bollards are actually, you know, places where you'd hook on rope to dock the ship. Just a whole bunch of whatever this is, a bunch of curved stuff. Don't have any idea. I don't want to sound dumb about this, but I just don't know what it is. I don't want to say the wrong thing. I'm sure we'll figure it all out in the instructions. Now there's a bunch of round vent details that look like they're screens or whatever, so that's really cool. Here we have kind of a repeat of the same thing, a few of the same parts, but we have some of the cap stands and different, you know, details for some of those. Winches. Yeah, this is part of a winch right here with a cable and hook on the end of it, if you can see that on there. These are done in stainless steel, by the way. Okay, we have a whole bunch of window frames here, which I was curious to see what these are going to look like. We have the rat lines for the main masts. Yeah, these window frames are gorgeous, guys. I mean, they have every little pattern on there for, you know, because the patterns changed. They had kind of these different arches in some of them and everything. That is gorgeous. But man, I'm just picturing sitting here putting on all those and painting them and everything. That's going to take a lot of time, but it's well worth it. Here we have some more detail. Now switching over to brass. The main booms for the cargo cranes. Cargo crane detail. Looks like the cabling and the hooks and everything are included there. And these are the inner forward well deck detail parts I talked about on the inner wall of the forward well deck, which is really nice. And this is really thin brass too, which is I'm glad. Sometimes they make this brass too thick and it's, you know, it sticks up on the model and it's hard to bend and everything. This looks really good. It's really high quality. Now this whole section here is all deck chairs and benches, so that's going to be quite a few of building those. These are all vent covers here, and we see, okay, a bunch of railing. This whole entire sheet is all railing that goes on various locations. Here is the lifeboat detail. You can see we have some of the seating. We have, I'm not sure what this stuff is, but it looks like mostly all lifeboat detail there. And there's some, I don't know what these are either. Sorry guys. Okay, here you see the basic canvas covers for the boats themselves, which is really nice. Little interior details for the boats, bunch of stairwell railings and stairs. Okay, and here we start seeing these are the upper part of the wrap. This is the upper half of the wrap for the smokestacks, and that's really nice because you can see it has all the little segments on there, some rivets, much more detailed than the plastic parts on the kit. And here we have the lower half of the wrap for 2 of the smokestacks. These are, I can't tell, these are vent covers here, more window frames. These are some type of railings. And here we have the last two of the funnel wraps, and you have the compass platform here, that's going to be a beautiful piece. We have Titanic, the name Titanic in brass lettering raised, and Liverpool, which is really, really cool. Even though putting that on the model is going to have that detail as a raised detail, where the actual ship itself, a lot of people don't have a misconception about that. The lettering on the Titanic was actually engraved into the hull, probably an inch or two deep, and then painted in, which is why they've actually seen the name Titanic on the, I think there's a video on YouTube where you can actually see most of the lettering of the name Titanic on either the starboard or port side from back in the 90s, when they actually scraped away some of the barnacles and rust on there, and you could see it. It's not very visible on the stern, but there are some pictures that they posted. I think Ken Marshall, who's one of the Titanic experts, done a lot of painting on Titanic, had analyzed some of the pictures and was able to kind of pinpoint where some of the letters are, where it says Titanic. Liverpool on the stern still exist. So putting those little letters on there will be raised instead of lowered, but they will look pretty nice like that, I'm sure. Here we have the incredibly beautiful wooden decking from Pontos. Now, again, Pontos is pretty much the top brand as far as wood decking. There's several different ones. A lot of them seem to be made in Korea for some reason. Maybe it's the type of wood that they use that's available there. It's kind of almost like a bamboo, but the quality of their stuff is incredible. And of course, it's all been laser cut, so you shouldn't have any problem. Any area that needs to be removed, you just take a little hobby knife or whatever, and it should pick right out of there. Now, when I apply this stuff, I like to use water and maybe mix that with a little bit of dishwashing detergent, like Dawn, just a little bit. It's an old trick that I remember from back in my days of doing body work or painting cars. I used to do a lot of, repaint a lot of old Trans Ams where you had the big bird on the hood, and that all had to be laid down. Well, you very rarely could lay that down because it was so huge and get it right the first time without having any wrinkles in it. So you want to be able to move it around, and so a little bit of misting down with some water with a little bit of soap mixed in with it will allow you to do that. Now, I did that, I experimented with that on one of my builds. I don't remember if it was the Bismarck or one of the models that I did where I had wood decks, and I did that, and it worked out fabulous because I was able to get all of the wrinkles and everything, able to get it to lay down perfectly. And then once that water and soap dries, I think that actually helps make this stick better than it normally does. Plus you're working with a clean surface that way. So I'm not going to take these apart. I'll just give you a look at the first one here without the glare. Hopefully this is the four-peak, and you can just, the whole thing's going to be pretty much the same theme, but you can see it's all outlined here. The wood planking is really nice, and I think the color of the decking looks pretty good for teak wood. I've seen a few Titanics where the wood decking looked a little too dark, but this is a pretty good approximation about how I think it should have looked. But that's a really beautiful set, and of course you get multi-levels of decking with this. Now, unlike the model itself, when I did the review, I didn't go on the very bottom. I missed a whole section, but it looks like we got it all there. So that's pretty much it for this set, guys. It's a beautiful set. Like I said, it's totally worth it. I highly recommend it. Now, on my build, a lot of you guys are asking when it's going to start and everything. I'm thinking of starting it this fall, and I mean that. I've said a lot of times about models on here I'm going to start, and then it never happens. Like a lot of builders out there, I get busy and my mind wanders in different directions with what I happen to get interested in. But I think I'm going to start it this fall, maybe around November or so, maybe just around Thanksgiving, and then I'm going to, my goal is to have it done by the, I guess it will be the 109th anniversary of the sinking, which would be the following April. That will give me a good, 6 months or so to work on the model and have it finished. So that's kind of what my goal is going to be. I think I'll start it around, in the fall and hopefully be done by the spring. So it's going to be a slow build. I'm going to totally take my time on it. I'm going to do lighting. I'm going to have to work up my own lighting system. I don't really think I'm going to use much of the lighting kit that the kit came with. So you guys hopefully will stay tuned and check all that out. Let me get this packed in here the right way, back the way it came. So I'm going to be putting all this stuff away until the fall. I got to take some pictures of this here at the end for you guys too, but you can see it's a beautiful set. It's well worth it. With all this brass work and everything, I'm actually going to set up in my my model display room. I'm going to set up another little table in there, and I'm going to do all my. I'm going to sit down in there, and I'm going to get a good light, get my magnifying set up and everything, and I'm going to work on all the brass stuff for this model, especially all the assembly, you know, the cranes and everything like that. All that stuff you have to finagle with. I'm going to work on that in there, and then just keep it all set off to the side. Nothing out here in the main model shop where it can get disturbed or, you know, get paint all over it and everything. This is just a production shop out here. I'm constantly building, painting, and everything. I don't want to make a mess, and I don't want to get this, you know, scattered in with everything else. My goal is to do the best possible job I can on the build. I want to use all of this detail. So we'll just take it one step at a time, and however many updates it is, it you know, it is basically. So hope you guys will check it out. And again, I've been waiting for a project like this for a really long time. The Titanic's one of my absolute favorites. So this is a great set. We're going to wrap this up now, guys. Hope you enjoyed it. Stay tuned here at the end, and I'll do a little slideshow of the close-ups of the photo etch parts. So we'll see you next time, everybody. Until we do, take care and happy modeling, everyone.